I'm going with Terence Crawford. You know, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will.
Lands good punches. I think Canelo could hurt Crawford. Crawford's, you know, first time in that division and jumping 2 divisions.
Against lesser competition. He knocks him the hell out. Canelo doesn't finish these guys, and he doesn't look good beating them. You know, shout out to the judges. The judges make Canelo look good.
Andre Ward hails Terence Crawford as one of boxing's most ruthless finishers, stressing why he feels Crawford could overpower Canelo Alvarez. Ward observes that whenever Crawford senses weakness or sees an opponent shaken, he refuses to let them recover. Instead, he applies nonstop pressure with crisp combinations and precise timing until the fight is closed. Ward believes this killer instinct separates Crawford from most boxers, making him dangerous in every round. For Canelo, taking on such an opponent means one error or lapse in defense could result in a sudden and brutal ending.
I'm going with Terence Crawford. You know, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. You know, it ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this last couple of years. I have not been against Terence Crawford against nobody. Like, you got to show me that you can beat.
Andre Ward shows strong admiration for both Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez as they head into their showdown. He stresses that this clash is not just another paycheck, but a moment where both fighters put their legacies on the line. Ward values the bravery it takes for 2 champions who have already achieved greatness to gamble it all against one another. He explains that these types of matchups lift boxing by giving fans a true battle of greatness. For Ward, this fight embodies the finest side of the sport, and he sincerely respects both men's determination.
Man, what's up, fight fans? It's official. I'm gonna be the 3rd man ringside, calling the Canelo Alvarez Terence Crawford fight, September 13th at Allegiant Stadium. I'm excited to be a part of this event. I'm excited to be ringside, calling this great card and this great matchup. Historic event for many reasons for both fighters. Super middleweight supremacy on the line, legacies on the line, your namesake and reputation is on the line. And I just take my hat off to both of these fighters for putting everything on the line late in their careers the way that they are. This is rare, and it's becoming more and more rare in boxing. Guys don't want this kind of smoke. They really don't want to face another counterpart that can ruin everything that they've built. And it really don't matter how much money's on the table for a lot of guys. They'd rather take a lesser risk for less money than to risk everything like these 2 fighters are doing. So I take my hat off to them. And I also want to give a shout out to Turkey Al-Sheikh for all that he's done to put this fight on. Dana White for all that he's done to put this fight on. And one more person that stays out the way and you don't really hear a lot about, but that has done a lot to make this fight happen as well. And that's my brother Nick Khan. He just gets stuff done, man, and I want to thank him and shout him out as well for getting this done. So I'll see y'all in Vegas, man. Part of me wants to be home watching this fight in street clothes. I got to take the street clothes off. I got work to do. I got to put that suit on, get ringside with John and Max, and call this fight like I know we can. Huge event, huge implications, historic night, and I'm happy to be a part. I hope to see you in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. If not,
Robert Garcia gave his assessment of Canelo Alvarez, noting that the Mexican star hasn't appeared at his sharpest in recent bouts. Garcia remarked that Canelo looks slower in his hands and footwork, making him seem less dangerous compared to his prime form. For a fighter like Terence Crawford, who thrives on accuracy and timing, this detail is critical. Garcia feels these flaws give Crawford a real chance to step in and control the fight. If Canelo fails to regain his earlier sharpness, Crawford's speed, angles, and adaptability inside the ring could be decisive. Garcia's opinion echoes a wider belief that Canelo may be past his peak, leaving room for Crawford to take advantage.
Jumping 2 divisions where he only had 1 fight at 154 and didn't look his best either. So there's a lot of questions, you know, about that. And that's why a lot of people think Canelo is going to knock out Crawford. But I'm probably one of the only ones that I do give Crawford a chance. Yeah. I think Crawford could pull it off. Crawford is very talented. He's very fast. He's very smart in the ring. So I think a perfect fight, Crawford could pull off a decision.
Okay.
I think he could win a decision. I don't pick him. You know, I wouldn't put my money on him winning because it's a very dangerous, risky fight, especially with Canelo being so strong. But Canelo's last few performances, he's looked slow, flat-footed, looking for one punch at a time. And if that's the Canelo that fights Crawford, Crawford could win a decision. Crawford could outbox him, could outsmart him, could land 3 or 4 punch combinations and move and win a decision. So do I give Crawford a chance? 100% think Crawford could pull it out. Would I put my money on it? Probably not, but I do give him a chance.
Yeah, good stuff. Look, Robert, appreciate you taking time to speak to me. I appreciate you letting me in the gym today. Always a pleasure. And yeah, hopefully be catching up sometime soon. Appreciate it.
Teddy Atlas, one of boxing's most trusted analysts, voiced doubts about Canelo Alvarez's preparation before his bout with Terence Crawford. Atlas pointed out that Canelo might be pushing himself too far, going beyond what's needed in such a tough training camp. He highlighted that including Jaron Ennis, a young, explosive welterweight, and sparring may have been unnecessary. To Atlas, being smart in training matters just as much as working hard. He warned that Canelo's choices could drain him more than benefit him. His comments imply that Canelo's attempt to sharpen everything could leave him worn down before fight night against a fighter like Crawford.
Now, so I avoided that. I would bring in specific sparring partners that A, knew how to be a sparring partner. Yeah, if I wanted something, I went over to him before the day started. Listen, I want you to do this. All right. I'm paying him. I have the right to do that. I want you to move more today. I want you to, you know what? I want you to press him a little. You know what? There was a fight I was getting a guy ready for, and I was worried about the first couple rounds. So I said, when the bell rings, I want you to rush out of the corner and go right after him. And I was, you know, obviously I had my guy ready because we were getting ready for that kind of fight plan, for the possibility that the opponent would come out that way. So I would look to get a boots at it. I mean, nothing wrong with that's what they want. That's fine. But, and I get it, the style, the size, the length. I understand. It's not a bad pick from that point of view. But for me, again, I never go down that road because I got my guy getting ready for a fight. I don't want to leave it in the gym. I don't want to get into that kind of war in the gym. No, I want to have control of all aspects of what the hell I'm doing in the gym to get ready for one night. So no, I wouldn't do that. I'd get the right sparring partners. If I thought I had a guy, I get guys that my guy could work with, and if he was having an off day, he could kind of, you know, have his way and do what he wanted with the guy. I'd have one of them. I'd probably have 3 guys, sometimes 4, depending on where we were at, you know, with the calendar when the fight was coming.
Adding further, Teddy Atlas suggested that Canelo's hardest struggles could already be taking place in the gym. He feels that Canelo is engaging in sparring sessions that look impressive, but may actually sap his energy for fight night. The idea is that fighters have only so much to give physically and mentally, and burning through that too early can be costly. Atlas compared it to delivering your best effort in training, instead of in the ring itself. For Crawford, this situation might play in his favor, as a tired or less explosive Canelo would likely fail to keep up with his sharp, high-volume style when the fight begins.
And a lot has been taken out of you in the gym. You left it in the gym. And we heard that Jaron Boots Ennis was getting the best of Canelo Alvarez in his sparring session. That he possibly gave him a black eye. We saw the knot on his head. That was just a week ago. The fight is next week, next Saturday. So 3 weeks out from the fight, and you having this hard sparring sessions with Jaron Boots Ennis, who wants to prove a point. Leave no doubt. Jaron Ennis is going into those sparring sessions not just to be a sparring partner, but to gauge where he stands against a legend and a Hall of Famer and a superstar like Canelo Alvarez, to understand where he can get better and understand that he can actually compete on that level. So make no mistake about it, Jerron Boots Ennis wasn't in there to lay down. Now, he had a job to do. He was there for a specific reason, which is to give Canelo looks that Terence Crawford could possibly give him. But you best believe, in those sparring sessions, he gonna give what he have. He gonna test the waters to see where he stands, right? Not just to help Canelo, not just to be a dummy. There's a reason you bring in a high-profile fighter. And so Teddy Atlas believes this is a huge mistake on Canelo Alvarez's part, because now he has possibly left it in the gym. And now he got to go into battle with Terence Crawford. So it's like having 2 fights in a matter of 3 weeks, and your body's going to show.
One of the main talking points surrounding this fight is Canelo Alvarez's lasting knockout power. Even if he appears slower or less agile, his ability to unleash punishing punches keeps opponents on guard. Many boxers who face Canelo spend most of the contest simply trying to survive, focusing more on defense than launching their own offense. This explains why certain fights go the distance without a stoppage, not because Canelo cannot finish, but because rivals stay cautious to provide openings against Crawford, though this mindset may not succeed. Crawford has consistently shown he can pick apart defensive fighters through patience, traps, and sudden offensive bursts. Should Canelo depend solely on power to keep Crawford cautious, it may fail against someone who dismantles overly careful opponents.
And no, for sure. I mean, we all see that fucking Canelo got power. That's the same reason why, at the same time, Canelo ends up going a distance with a lot of these guys, because these guys are just on survivor mode, you know? They're not trying to fight back. They're not trying to win. They're just surviving, which is hard to knock somebody out that's just surviving, you know? So I feel like Canelo's power is definitely there. I just think it's just a matter of how Crawford reacts when he feels it, you know? Is he gonna be one of those survivors, or is he gonna actually, you know?
No, I think Crawford will go out on his shield. I think he's gonna fight and go out like a warrior.
At the same time, I feel like he does that, then it gives Canelo a chance to be able to clip him, you know? More of a chance.
Well, Turkey said no more Tom and Jerry. I don't expect him to run.
I mean, I don't expect him to run, but at the same time, it's boxing, you know? It's boxing, it's hit and don't get hit, swim and not get.
Is that what Haney did when he fought Jose Rodriguez?
That's a different type of.
Is that what William Scull did when he fought Canelo?
Yeah, you see that? I feel like it's just I feel like when you watch Bivol versus Beterbiev, the second fight, that's great.
Critics have also raised doubts about the strength of Canelo's recent wins. While his record remains strong, many claim his performances lack the dominance he once had. Instead of explosive knockouts, his victories appear more like grinds, where size and power carried him rather than refined boxing skills. Terence Crawford, by contrast, offers a much broader set of weapons. His slick punching, stance switching, high-ring IQ, and smooth footwork create problems even for elite fighters. Where Canelo often depends on his physical edge, Crawford's diverse skill set lets him control the tempo of a fight. This contrast has led many observers to favor Crawford's chances despite Canelo's fame and accomplishments.
He knocks him the hell out. Canelo doesn't finish these guys, and he doesn't look good beating them. You know, shout out to the judges. The judges make Canelo look good for the past 6 fights. And so now we sit here, you know, what is Canelo going to do against Crawford? And while some of you are saying, you know, domination and weight, really the only thing that I hear is his weight, his power, his weight, his power, his weight, his power. And that's all that he has. But when I get to talking about Crawford, we'll dive into that.
Well, to Byron's point, the last quality, super quality fight that Canelo had was against Dimitri Bivol, and we all know what happened with that. You know,
no, I thought Caleb Plant was a good opponent. I thought Caleb Plant was a good opponent.
Well, it was Caleb Plant, then it was Bivol.
Yeah, right.
Plant, then Bivol.
Well, don't forget to point out that Bivol came down, right?
No, that was 175.
Canelo went up. So that kind of puts Canelo at a disadvantage, right? He tested.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say that, right? You want to say that.
I mean, you know,
I can argue.
But I mean, I'm not saying that that's an excuse for him for losing. I'm just saying, hey, you know, if you're gonna test yourself to be great, you gotta wear the consequences.
So let me ask. So no, you're right, 100%. But let me ask you a question. I'm just asking because I don't know. Like, so when watching that fight, did you think it was a weight issue, or did you think it was more of a skill and boxing thing when watching that fight with Bivol and Canelo?
I thought he was outclassed.
I agree. It was
outclassed,
and it looked like he was being outclassed by basic fundamental.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So that was my point. That's what I'm
right.
I don't think Bival's weight had anything to do with him, because I don't think Bival's not a knockout artist.
And this legendary power that y'all speak of, this ass-taking Zeus god, the power that he has, it did not show in that fight.
Gabriel Rosado admits he favors Canelo Alvarez in this contest, mainly because of Canelo's proven track record on the biggest stages. Rosado highlights that from early in his career, Canelo has faced world-class opponents under immense pressure, stacking up experience in high-level battles. On the other hand, this would be Terence Crawford's first appearance in a matchup of such global significance. While Rosado respects Crawford's talents, he argues that experience carries the most weight when the stakes are this high. For that reason, he leans toward Canelo, trusting in his history of delivering in major fights.
I favor Canelo. Not by a lot, but I do favor him. I just think that, you know, I think the Skull fight was just a bad style. And I think Canelo was like, why force the issue? You know what I mean? I'm up. This guy's running. I'm not gonna take a chance. So I think that it was that kind of fight for Canelo. But Marjamal did give Crawford problems. You know what I'm saying? And where I felt like, damn, at 54, he gave you problems. 68 is different. You know what I'm saying? So you going up 3 weight classes, because he was 47, 54, 60, 68, that's 3 weight classes. It's a major difference, man. And you know, one thing is like, right, so people are saying Canelo has problems with movers. But the reality is, Crawford's not a mover. Crawford's not a fighter that fights on his feet in the sense of boxing, kind of like, let's say, how a Pernell Whitaker would box, or how Andy Lara would box. Crawford is a fighter that works on angles. He's not on his feet like Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm saying? He's not that kind of boxer. So he's gonna be there to get hit, you know? And I feel like that favors Canelo, because Canelo's gonna hit you in the arms. He's gonna hit you in the elbows. He's gonna hit anything you give him, he's gonna take it. You know what I mean? And now, is Crawford just gonna switch his style and become a mover, moving up 3 weight classes? So now you're gonna put all that weight on your legs, and you never boxed like that before. How can you do that?
Showbiz the Adult discussed what he calls Canelo's May curse. He notes that almost every May, Canelo's performances dip, often appearing rusty due to the long gaps after his September bouts. September, on the other hand, usually brings his best displays, like the dominant showing against Dermal Charlo. He pointed out that fans often call May fights such as those with John Ryder or William Skull disappointing, while September matchups, like against Berlanga or Charlo, show a sharper version of Canelo. This pattern creates added intrigue for Crawford if their fight happens in September. Still, not every analyst fully backs Crawford. Some raise concerns about his move up in weight, pointing to his outing against Israel Madrimov. In that fight, Crawford looked solid, but not as commanding as expected. His power seemed reduced at the higher division, and at times his movement looked less smooth than at lighter weights. Critics argue if he struggled at moments against Madrimov, facing a veteran like Canelo Alvarez could be even tougher. Canelo's durability, size, and years of experience present a different type of challenge, while Crawford has the skills to outbox him. Whether he can maintain his strengths against a naturally bigger foe will only be proven in the ring.
In May, Mexican Independence Day, September, and in May, he always has a bad performance called the Canelo May curse. And come September is a better performance. His best performances are in September because since he only fights once a year, after September, it's a long layoff until May again, which is kind of like his tune-up fight where he looks rusty. I gotta see if it's true, so I brought up the box rec, and I want to go through this with you guys to see if it's actually true. Now, if it is, that's bad news for Terence Bud Crawford, right? So let's look at this. May, William Skull. We're gonna go from recent to the past. William Skull, May. We all know that was a horrible performance to the point where people think Saul Canelo Alvarez is, you know, he's not looking right. He's finally starting to kind of go down in his abilities, right? And all those things. And this is kind of like the end of his career type of thing. He's in worse shape than Terence Bud Crawford because of this performance. And I've heard people say that before, and I'm wondering if that's every May. So Williams dog, bad performance next September. Good performance, Edgar Berlanga.
Lightning strike.
Okay, y'all know that was a good performance. Everybody was excited about that fight. Jaime Munguia, man, he's been very criticized about going 12 with Jaime Munguia, right? He knocked him down, but going 12 with Jaime Munguia, and people saw that as a horrible performance from Canelo Alvarez. I actually liked that fight. They were going at it, but people say